Hi everyone, for subunit 4.2, the first question is, why is it actually counterproductive to respond to various children's use of behavior such as kicking in the same way? Well, it is counterproductive to react to any student misbehavior in the same way because, students act certain ways and behave certain ways because of different things. One student might be, like we talk about in class, might be trying to avoid something, avoid an assignment or an activity or something, and one student might be just doing it because one other student is annoying him. There's totally different reasons why students react in these ways, and it is up to the teacher to determine why each student is reacting in this way. All students are not going to feel the same way about maybe a routine that they have in the class. Some students will be okay, some, won't react to it in the correct way. So these are all factors that can contribute to why students will hit or kick or behave in any sort of way, so it's not appropriate to respond in the same way. What sources of information do you gather in your classroom that will help lead to individual behavioral planning for children? Basically, any sort of observations, anecdotal notes, you know, when you notice something is happening in the class or this behavior is occurring, obviously you stop the behavior first and then, you know, you make note of it. This happened at this time. And then you kind of over, maybe a week or so time, you see a trend and you start seeing, okay, this is happening at nap time or this is happening, right when they come out from playing on the playground. You can use basically any information, but a lot of it's going to be observational, anecdotal notes, any sort of like behavior prevention, note taking is going to help in determining when this behavior is occurring. What are the benefits of having several short-term goals embedded within a long-term goal for a child? Well, basically, the short-term goals are the small stepping stones for the long-term goals. The long-term goal is too far from what a child is used to them even being able to comprehend the situation. You can't automatically, jump from one end of the spectrum to the other with young children. Their brains just aren't able to comprehend that, and it's not going to be effective at all. You're not going to get the results you want to see. So the short-term goals are definitely appropriate. Something small where it's a minor change, where yes, it's going to take some time getting used to, but it's not going to be so abrupt and so different that they, maybe do the behavior even more. You never know. What factors should be considered in choosing the most effective strategies for a child? Well, first you have to define the behavior, and then you need to collect your information, like your observations, when this is occurring. You need to guess why the child is doing the behavior, which will go along with your observations. Once you figure out what time of day it's happening, what situation, what environment the children are in, when this is occurring, you'll be able to understand why the behavior is occurring and why the child is acting this way at that time. Then you're going to set up goals and you're going to develop and implement strategies for changing this behavior. And it's going to have to be specific to this behavior and this time of day, and what you have determined about why the child is acting the way in which they are. After a new strategy is applied, if a behavior actually gets worse, why does that indicate that the strategy may be working and will require patience and implementation? Yes, sometimes if a behavior is just getting worse, it could mean that the strategy is not effective and is not working, and maybe you have the wrong idea of why the child is behaving that way, but there's a good possibility also that the strategy is working and that the child is kind of not fighting you, but pushing your limits. I mean, I guess they kind of are fighting you. They're pushing their limits. They're seeing how far the boundary can be pushed, and they're seeing how far you're willing to stretch with these new rules that you have or these new routines that you have for them. They are young children, but they are aware of what's going on, and they do have a sense of right and wrong, so they probably do understand that maybe their behavior is not correct and that you're trying to correct it, and so they're going to try to push those boundaries. Thank you. I look forward to hearing from you guys.